guys, welcome to the Wars and Weapons channel. In this video we're going to talk about the Roman weapon because I started talking about the Romans in a few videos, so I just decided to continue on until I link the content I'm talking about to something else to make a video about that other thing, like some other things that I might want to make a video about. So in this video we're going to talk about one of the most used Roman weapons, which is basically a sword. A special sword, a gladius. The Roman sword, the sword that the Roman used, are called gladiuses. So they're basically just have a name like the katana, which is basically has its own special name. It's not just like a sword. You can't call it a sword. It is a sword, but it's a katana. It has a name. The gladius basically the same thing. So the Romans actually had these gladiuses, and they were distributed among their soldiers, and they were actually pretty unique swords, because if you have watched in movies, you can sometimes see that the Romans actually grab their swords by their blade. Sometimes they don't go for the handle but the blade. This is due to the fact that the Romans would prefer their swords not sharpened that much, because the main reason that they got the gladius was because it was extremely thick, and you could just instead of slashing with the gladius wouldn't do much damage. So the Romans decided that they should the main reason that the gladius was used was just shove it inside your opponent.
What do you mean by that?
You should stab them like a knife, like you would do with a knife. The gladius was basically like that, and the fact that it wasn't sharp would actually mean that if it manages to go through the enemy's armor, it will actually leave a pretty bigger mark, and when going out, it also won't come out clean. It might get some of the other things inside the body, it would deform the other things that a rather sharper sword would just basically go clean through. So it would basically cause much more damage than a regular katana when you stab. But the katana actually does, when you slash it, it just does unimaginable damage. I don't know if you have seen the videos, but you can see a guy cutting bamboo or something, things that are extremely hard with just a single slash. The Romans don't believe in speed. If you have looked at their gear, they're just all heavy gear. There's a lot of weight on their shoulders due to their armor, and then they have a pretty heavy helmet. All of their gear is basically extremely heavy. So they basically don't have them the nimbleness that is required to slash swords effectively. So instead, they prefer to adapt more heavier equipment to be able to defend more effectively, such as their large shields. And of course, as I said, the gladius, which the thickness of the gladius would provide a well tool for deflecting sword blows. So they would basically they wouldn't slash their swords. If you have seen them fight, you know that they would try to avoid slashing as much as they can. Or when they do, they'll try to land 4 or 5 of them in a row, because a single slash wouldn't be as effective, because armor that the Romans were fighting, the armor of the people that the Romans were fighting, it was usually made of leather, because unlike the Romans, they did not have the skill and the material and the tools required to produce the well-made metal armor. So they were basically better against slashes. So slashing with the gladius would be almost have no effect. So they'll try to land 5 or 6 of them in a row in areas where it's not the armor that they wear is not so thick. So that's basically what they do. They would try to rather stab their opponents rather than just trying to deflect sword blows and then just slashing their opponents. Yeah, because as I said, the Romans also wear extremely heavy gear, which would make it extremely hard for them to act nimble in a fight. So the most thing they could do in a fight was just basically maneuver their arms until they can put their gladius in the front of the enemy's sword, so that once it comes, it hits the gladius. Also, the gladius's heavy weight would also allow to put more energy into deflecting the sword blow, because in a fight with a lighter sword and a heavier sword, when you clash them, the person with the heavier sword has a more chance of pushing the person with the light sword, because the light sword, it bends easier, like when you're holding it. When someone pushes something heavy into it, it has a pretty high chance of just bending. But for the gladiuses, due to the fact that it was, as I said, extremely heavy and they were shorter than regular swords, they would basically just be able to deflect many of the sword blows. So they would basically have this, and then when they deflect the sword blow, they'll throw over their opponents, so they basically have a pretty good chance to stab their opponents with their gladiuses. That's basically their strategy for fighting. They would rather stab their opponents rather than trying to like go on and slash them multiple times. And if you have seen them, like slashing also requires you to go out of formation, because like when you slash your opponent once, he goes back in order to avoid more slashes. So you'll have to go out of the formation in order to be able to slash him more, which is something Romans didn't want to do at all, because like the main thing that formed the Roman army and made the Roman army unique from all the armies at the time was the fact that they were extremely disciplined and they would prefer to fight in line. So, and like, but stabbing, you deal with, like, you hit them once, a stab, and then like you pull the sword out, and then like you're all ready to fight again. It also consumes a lot less energy, because like stabbing, like if you put your hand and like you do this, it consumes a lot less energy than trying to do multiple slashes like this. So the Romans would prefer their swords to be actually rather blunt than sharp, because like they were sharp, like I can't say like they were like as bold as a hammer, but they were pretty, like they weren't as sharp as the other swords at the time, because like other nations would like try to slash their opponents because they think it's faster, and like they would, as I said, they did not wear armor as heavy as the Romans, so they would like, there wouldn't be much problem like to be like do your things, like you do, there's nothing blocking your arms, there's no much weight on your shoulders, and they basically had no discipline at all, because as I said, one thing made the Roman army unique was their discipline, because most of the armies they're basically just like usually local tribesmen, and the ones that were like a nation, a united nation, they just had like pretty few resources, and they did not have the discipline that the Romans had. So they would basically just give they had no respect for discipline. They just, like, discipline didn't exist in their armies. So they would have no problem with sending out their soldiers out of their fighting line in order to be able to defeat the enemy. So that's basically how the gladius is made and why it's so unique, and why I decided to make a video about this. Anyway, thank you for watching. We're extremely close to 100 subscribers, so make sure to hit the subscribe button and ring the war bell to be notified of the rest of the wars that will occur on the channel later. Make sure to like the video. Thank you for watching again, and stand by for the next video.